Alright guys, so I kind of have a Frankenstein of a idea here. My father is wanting something a little more powerful than what he currently has. Right now he's running a 7th gen i7 and he's wanting something that has a higher core count. So I've had this server that I had planned on turning into a virtual machine, test server for a while now. I've had this thing sitting in my office for the better part of a year and hadn't really touched it. So I'm going to repurpose this for my dad so he can use it as his primary desktop computer, basically turning a server into a desktop. The problem is he still wants to use his high-end video card, which this server doesn't necessarily have the power connectors for. So I've done some troubleshooting, or I shouldn't say troubleshooting, but digging around, playing, whatnot. I have found some power converters in my closet that will convert Molex and SATA connectors to basically to power the video cards with. I'm testing this with a GTX 1060. Now he has an RTX 3060 that we will put in here if everything tests correctly, if everything functions the way I want it to function. Now, in order to get this video card to fit, the RAID controller card that controls basically all of the hard drives up here, basically the drive sitting there, but the controller card that controls those, basically there's a slot up here for the controller card. That's where that card used to sit, and it had this bracket right here that basically slid up top to hold that card in place. Now, with that being mounted right there, the video card won't fit, obviously. But, so what I have done, I removed that bracket, moved the RAID controller card down to one of these secondary slots. Now that's going to be a detriment to the performance of this RAID controller, just because of the throughput of these PCIe connectors. But you're only going to be using half of these hard drives basically. The other halves are just going to be blank. So we will only theoretically need half the throughput, which I'm hoping this is going to be able to handle. You can see I've only gone back. It originally came, I can't find what I did with the other cable right now, but, oh, here it is. So basically this controller card was connected to this front panel with basically two data cables. One controlling each bank of hard drives. With us only using one bank of drives, we only need one cable, which is going to cut in half the data throughput, which these ports should handle. Of course, I still got to test all that and make sure it's going to function the way we want it to function. Irregardless, if the data throughput is not basically speedy enough, there is one extra onboard SATA connection. Well, there's actually two of them. One's being used by the DVD drive, but if the performance of those drives aren't quick enough, basically for our likings, I'm going to install this solid state drive and use this for the operating system, and just use these front drives here. Of course, I'm going to stripe the data across them, but I'm just going to use those for bulk storage, just for the big data. leave all his application operating system on this. But that being said, we've got some testing to do. I need to make sure that this is going to provide enough power for that video card to function. If this functions well, then of course, we'll know he'll at least be able to use that 1060. We still got to test that 3060 once all this is done being tested. But this server, as you can tell, it has 2 Xeons in it, equaling a total of 12 cores, 24 threads total. Has 72 gigs of memory in it, which will be plenty for him because he wants to use this to run virtual machines on and play the occasional game and whatnot. But along with that video card, since this is an actual server, it doesn't have any onboard sound to it. So I'm going to install this 5.1 surround sound video card, give him some audio capabilities. And I'm going to put in this USB 3.0 card, so he'll have just that functionality as well. And I also, where is it? I also have this Bluetooth 5.0 USB adapter that I'm going to be putting in here as well. There is a USB port straight on the motherboard itself, but installing this inside the case will probably limit its range, so I'll probably just wind up putting this on one of the outside ports. But either way it goes, we've got some testing to do, we've got some cleanup to do. Got to get these hard drives reinstalled. Now these drives are going with 8 600 gig hard drives. Now these came out of another server I had, which these brackets don't fit this case. So what I'm going to have to do, the drives that were in the server were 300 gigs. So I'm going to take these 300 gig drives out and put them in my server and use these 600 gig for his. So I've got to swap the drives, kind of install these cards, load the operating system, just do a whole lot of testing. But I hope you guys enjoy. I'll get back with you shortly. Alright, got everything installed and put together. Let's go through the BIOS and make sure everything's set up now. Alright, let's reboot, get these hard drives working. Have a couple of drives that's not reporting correctly. Alright guys, let's get these hard drives configured. Now I had to swap the drives. I had 600 gig hard drives in there, but I had too many of them. I had a couple of them that had failed, so I had to swap them out with 300 gig drives, which will still give me, you know, a couple terabytes of storage. So I am going to get these configured in a RAID 6, which will stripe them and give me 2 spares. It will not let me import these. I'll just clear it. There we go. That's better. Alright, now we can get it configured. Create new virtual disk. I'll create that in a RAID 6. Select all the disk. Uh, 1.6 terabytes. We'll just name that RAID 6. Okay. Alright, 1.6 terabytes. Perfect. Initialize. Alright. Exit. Reboot. Alright, let's get Windows 11 loaded on here. Now, with this machine, I think this server is 2016 model, which does not meet the requirements for Windows 11. But I have Windows 11 written to a USB drive to bypass those system checks so I can get it loaded anyway. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and get Windows 11 loaded. I'm going to get it updated, the drivers loaded, and I'll be back with you guys in a bit. And when I get back, I'm going to switch to my capture card for a direct capture of this screen so you guys can see it better. And I'll show you, basically show you the system, but I will be back. Alright, slight change of plans here. Alright, so I did get an operating system loaded on this thing. Everything works fine, everything works as expected. But well, first of all, I tested out the speed of these drives to see if they were going to be responsive enough to basically deal with on a day-to-day basis. And sitting there just doing mundane tasks like, just updates and things like that, these drives were being utilized at 30-40%, which just isn't going to cut it when you start really diving into more, input-output intense applications. So, I know I stated I was going to install the solid-state drive, but I figured I'd test the performance of those flatter drives before I did that. But I am going to go back and get this installed. This is, like I said, 500 gig solid state for just the operating system applications. Of course, I've stated I moved the RAID controller card down, had to remove one of the data cables, which disabled this bottom bank of drives, which we aren't using. Those are just blanks right now. So we have 300 gig drives there. 8 of them set up in a RAID 6, which means they're striped with 2 spares. So you can lose up to 2 drives at once and still be good as long as you replace those 2 drives. But I did get my father over here to take a look at it, since this is really his build. And he didn't like the power configuration. He didn't like the fact that we were going to lose the DVD drive because we had to steal the power for basically the video card, which would have made it difficult to hook up that solid state drive as well. So, with that being said, he doesn't really care about how it looks as long as it functions. So with that being said, he wants this DVD drive hooked back up along with this solid state drive, which is going to take up both those connections that I was using for the video card. Now I'm going to have to get a Molex to SATA converter extension to go back to that USB 3.0 card to power it. But he had the idea of, like I said, he doesn't care about how it looks, but he had the idea of getting this additional power supply and getting some double-sided tape and taping it to the top of the case, and then taking the video card power to it. And I agree with him, and this can be done, but we are going to route this power cable through one of these slots back here and run it up to the video card. Now, in order to get this external power supply to power up and function, you basically use one of these to plug into the motherboard connector. And what that will do is, on these power supplies, I don't know if you guys can see this, but you basically have this green cable here, which the motherboard would send the signal to the power supply to turn on. And basically what this coupler does is it takes this green wire and shorts it out with one of the black ground wires. And that basically tells the power supply to stay on at all times. Now, with that staying on at all times, when you shut the computer down, this will continue to run and continue to provide power to the video card. Now, in order to get around that issue, we're using a power supply that has an actual on-off switch on it. So you can manually kill the power on. So we are going to, I'm trying to orient this to, I know how he's going to have this set up on his desk. I'm trying to orient this to where he can have easy access to that switch, which will be basically like this, because this computer will be the other way on his desk. So basically, what we will do with that, and I will probably modify this a little bit, probably cut it in half and stick back on there just to see if I can get that to fit through there. But yeah, I'll probably wind up cutting this in half and putting it back on there just for airflow purposes. If I can get this to fit through there, that will work out just fine. So basically what I've done here is I have a Molex splitter. I'm only using one leg of it. Then I have that converted to SATA, basically dual SATA ports here for power, which still isn't long enough. So I will use this one last connection here. Yeah, if that don't cause a fire, I don't know what will. We'll see. Alright, and that is how you turn a PowerEdge T710 into a functional desktop. Solid state drive, video card, USB 3, sound card, the RAID controller was utilizing only one cable and half the bank of hard drives, dual Xeon processors, 24 cores total, 72 gigs of memory, 500 gigs solid state, a little over 1.5 terabytes of storage up here striped. Now this server does support WIFI and it does have a TPM chip on it, so it's new enough. But this should give him all the capabilities of a desktop with the raw power of a server. So I'm going to get this thing put back together. Alright, so I've had this thing up and running for a few days now. Everything is stable, running great, running as expected. No power issues, no heat issues. So I'm about to pack it up, go take it to my dad's house and get up and running for him. But I just want to give you guys a quick overview of everything now that I have it actually up and running. So as you can tell, got Windows 11 on here, completely updated, got all the drivers on there, everything's running great. Kind of been monitoring the temperatures on this thing, just basically make sure it's not going to overheat or anything. As you can see, it's just pretty much sitting here idle. It's with the heat is great on it. I mean, it's not heating up at all. As far as the core count and all that, as you can see, I got the 2 Xeons, 12 cores, 24 threads, or 24 logical processors, however you want to, mention it, say it. The 72 gigs of memory. Now this, I just realized I never mentioned what kind of server this was, but this is a PowerEdge T710. Now I've actually only have one network adapter plugged in, but this thing actually has, as you saw earlier, actually 4 NICs in it. I doubt he'll use all those, but I know he will have at least 2 of them plugged in, just for better throughput. And of course, once I get there, I'm gonna swap this video card out, gonna get his RTX 3060 in here, and if I remember, I'll take a screenshot and post that in the video, so you guys, just so you can see it installed and all that. For storage, of course, I said I've got the 500 gig solid state drive for his, operating system, applications, this, that, the other. And then I have this secondary drive, which is 1.6 terabytes striped across those 8 drives. This is for his bulk data, games, virtual machines, just anything that takes up a lot of space, basically. Now this, I did go ahead and connect him to his server, which I'm taking back over to his house. I brought it over to my house just to do some maintenance on it and to upgrade some components on there. So I did go ahead and reconnect this new desktop to a server, or this old server converted to a desktop, I should say. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my method of converting an old server to a high performance desktop.